Welcome, children of Iluvatar, to Echoes of Tolkien. I'm Ryan.
I'm Derek.
I'm Colton.
And I'm Logan.
Today, we're going to start out a little more lighthearted with some trivia. Derek found some trivia questions, so he's going to ask, and we're going to test our knowledge and yours.
All right. So, disclaimer, I didn't make these trivia questions. I found these online. They have simple, intermediate, advanced, and an impossible. So, let's just start with the intermediate and go from there. The intermediate seem a little simple, but what is the name of Sauron's tower?
Barad-dûr.
Yes.
Barad-dûr. There's a Lego set on that, too, that I really
Oh,
want.
we need that.
Yeah, we definitely need that Lego set.
If only they weren't priced so astronomically high.
That is
they
true,
are.
but hey, we'll get them one day.
The second one is, what is Frodo's undershirt made of?
Mithril.
Mithril.
Exactly.
Which, there is a theory that is actually Legolas's. I don't know if we talk about that, but there was a theory that that's actually Legolas's from
His
like
childhood shirt.
His childhood
I did
shirt.
see that somewhere.
Yeah.
Where's that theory come from?
The internet.
Oh, okay.
No, it's because I think there is talk of Legolas having like a mithril, or it belonged to a prince, an elven prince, and
It was mentioned when Bilbo got it that it belonged to an elven prince when he was a child.
But
Well,
why
Legolas is an elven prince.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of where
Connect the
And
dots.
that's why, in the movies, you never see Frodo and Legolas interact. And there's the fan theory of Frodo doesn't know Legolas's name because he never says it.
Yeah, and then Legolas just mad because Frodo has his
And then when he
childhood
gets
shirt.
stabbed, he shows, and Legolas is like,
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's like, that's mine. Yeah.
all right, this is pretty simple. What bone did Viggo Mortensen break on the set of filming Two Towers?
His toe.
That's right.
When he kicked the helmet, we all know the scene, and we all jump in when we watch it.
Yes, we do every
Absolutely.
time.
The Shire was made into a tourist town. What is the name of that town?
Hobbiton?
Yeah. See, this is supposed to be intermediate.
Okay, well,
These are
let's
pretty
wait.
simple.
Before you get cocky, let's make sure we knock out all of them.
What race does Aragorn belong to?
Men.
Yeah. See, these are... Who was the father of Faramir and Boromir?
Denethor.
Yeah. What animal did Sam always want to see?
Oliphants.
Yeah. I was wondering if that would maybe stump anybody up. When I first read it, I was like, oh, he always wanted to see the elves, but I'm like, that's not an animal.
That's not. Well, yeah,
Well-
some could say.
Well,
Debatable.
Are
ravenous
elves
beasts.
mammals?
So there's actually, real quick, jumping on that, there's actually a really interesting aspect from when Tolkien was creating the races, and it's viewed as elves embody what men want to be. So with longevity of life, with wisdom, everything like that, that actually in his writing, he kind of viewed elves as what men strive to be, rather than what man is. So, just...
Interesting point.
Yeah.
What is interesting is that men were Eru's chosen people. So in Eru's eyes, men were actually the dominant species and had the gift of mortality because mortality was viewed as a gift, whereas the elves were kind of in Eru's eyes kind of lesser.
Yeah, maybe.
Gift, parentheses, doom.
Doom.
Yeah, but I think when Tolkien was writing the different races and coming up with them, though, that's when he was kind of when you break things apart, like dwarves, you make a little bit more greedier, but craftsmen, things like that, and you have to create these different races to have, different aspects of them. When viewing elves, he's like, what does man want to be with the long life, things like that, because Tolkien did have an interest in the longevity of either story and of wisdom, and that's kind of how I viewed the elves.
I always view the elves like angelic. They're just like these grace-filled beings, and then they die, and automatically their soul goes to the halls of Mandos
Yep.
in Valinor, and then they get judged there. Just much different than men. Men don't get to go back to Valinor.
Yeah.
They don't, but nobody in Tolkien's world really knows what happens to the soul of a man. But if we're really thinking about all the allegory in Tolkien's writing, man is the race that gets to go be with Eru in the end. They get the everlasting life.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess, men, their soul would, essentially what maybe some people believe in this world, but your soul would go to be with the Creator.
In heaven, essentially.
Yeah.
Where
Valinor isn't heaven.
No.
I think there's a misconception upon that sometimes I read online
It's
where
its own
people
place.
view the Undying Lands as being heaven. It's nah, it's part of Arda.
well, I mean, frankly, when we were coming up watching the movies, it's kind of how I viewed it too. But now that I know more, it's a physical place.
Mm-hmm.
It's a physical place on that world, and
I mean, the song for the movie Into the West, I mean, what are you supposed to think?
Well, the movie
Yeah.
does very much portray the undying lands
Yeah.
going into the west.
Like you'd think it's heaven based on a lot of the,
Yeah.
You would.
a lot of the things. But like, yeah, that is kind of like the big thing between elves and men, and why it can be seen that like men may have been Eru's chosen people, is that technically like men possibly get to go to heaven, elves are bound to the world.
I choose to be a child of Aule.
Now, it's interesting actually. Cause, it's funny because we always say about
Allegory.
allegory. Thank you,
There you go.
because Tolkien says he didn't intend for it, but like in reality, like it's hard not to. But when you look at the concept of Lord of the Rings, I mean, there's a lot of things.
It's
that
plagiarism.
No, but really, with anything you look at, though, you can always find it, or you can find your own meaning in something like
Right.
that. But even when it comes to like timeline, because he was pressed an interview one time about what timeline does this fall into, and Tolkien specifically said it's its own timeline, like not one that he wanted to connect to this Earth, because it's one of those things he said that people can then like be like, well, it couldn't have fallen here because of this, and pretty much find a history lesson that would like deem it untrue. And he said it lives in its own time,
Right.
and that's why, like, because everyone tries to read things, same with trying to connect things to God and things like that, because Tolkien, would say that there wasn't any direct correlation between certain things for not certain characters, and he tried to steer away from symbolism. Now, I think that symbolism, there's more of, because that's more of a broad term. So symbolism, you can look at something, say this is a symbol for numerous things.
Right.
So I'd say like more so a lot of his writing is more symbolism than allegory, because allegory would be like a direct comparison. So a lot of people thought that back in the time when this was being written, that Sauron represented Hitler and things like that, and orcs being the Nazis and things like that, and that's where that it was a direct correlation to what was going on at the time, which I'm sure that time period had
Influence.
on his perspectives on war.
Throw this out there. If Sauron would have used meth like Hitler did, I mean, Middle Earth would have been gone.
That's true. That'd been quick. He would have found that real quick. but
It is funny. I've heard before that it's like Tolkien didn't like allegory when like the entire book is allegory.
I think in any sort of creative medium, like it's hard to get away from it, like because your brain is created based on the things that you learn and come up with in your life. So like even in creativity, you're going to subconsciously pick up on things that you already know. So you can't really get away with it. So he may not have intentionally, but like there's always that subconscious part of you that you're always going to relate things in your writings or in any sort of creativity that is coming from your baseline knowledge of the world and everything.
He was a religious person.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
So obviously that had heavy influence, but it's like hard to read the beginning of the Silmarillion, and it's like the creation of the world in Genesis.
I mean, even with Morgoth and like Eru and his creations, Melkor, we're creating the world with song, and then Melkor was combating that with his own music. And it's like it really does kind of just correlate to Lucifer, the fallen angel, like taking his own way of things and trying to make his own creation because he thought he had a better idea of how to do things.
I was just reading about this today in one of my new Christmas presents. Like Melkor wanted to be the light like Eru,
Right.
but because he couldn't be the light, that's why he fell to darkness. I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's funny because I mean Tolkien has said he doesn't consciously, he didn't consciously try to create those similarities.
Right.
But I also think when you look at any story in general, I mean you can compare Star Wars, Harry Potter, Chronicles of Narnia, Lord of the Rings. In reality, there's so many similarities between you have someone who is carrying a burden of some form. You have the wise wizard, the one who's kind of guiding the group, and then you have the shy king or some hero of a story like that. So I mean, no matter what, everyone's going to create a correlation and tie to whether it was the intention of the author or not. I think no matter what, someone's going to take something and reflect it into the real world and something they can relate to.
Exactly.
So I think that's natural. What I do like about Tolkien's writings is, I mean, it's safe to say he set the stage for what we see today in the fantasy world, which I think we covered in another podcast. But really, he did create, such a deep world with languages and things like that. He set a new bar, though, for what people had to do. And even Tolkien said like he had to create like the maps and everything like that because you can't write a story this detailed and not have a map, something that details it, or else you're just lost. Yeah, you're lost in this world.
And then he added letters on top of that explaining all the different intricacies and backstories and stuff.
Yeah.
It really is deep.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Admirable.
Yeah.
All right, back to some trivia. What did I ask you guys last? Sam. All right, question number 8. How many rings were made for men, dwarves, and elves?
9 for the dwarves. I'm sorry, 9
7.
for the men. Sorry,
7.
I meant the men, and then 7 for the dwarves, 3 for the elves.
Yes.
I did have that right. I mixed up my race there.
What forest is home to Treebeard and the Ents?
Fangorn.
What river what river city is Faramir sent to defend?
Osgiliath?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those were supposed to be intermediate.
Okay.
I thought those were probably pretty simple.
Those were.
I mean, I think if you watch the movies, you could have answered those.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into the advanced. We'll see how advanced they really are. What is the name of the Uruk-hai lieutenant that kills Boromir? Yes.
Nice.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I was gonna have to think about that one
I
for
know.
a
It's
second.
like, good. We're getting something a little challenging.
Who was the only Lord of the Rings cast member to have met J.R.R. Tolkien?
Christopher Lee.
Christopher
I'm
Lee.
going to go look. I didn't know that. But I mean,
Yeah,
based on
Christopher Lee,
timeline,
yeah.
I guess that's
At a
cool.
bar in Oxford, and that's why he read the books, is because he met Tolkien.
I never knew all that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
By
Yeah.
happenstance. Just,
Christopher Lee is just so awesome.
Dude,
He's
Yeah.
an interesting. He was an interesting
He has
dude.
lived like the greatest life anybody like
Oh,
ever
I
lived.
agree. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like,
Yeah, I didn't
he
know
was,
that.
He was
That's a fun
engaged to a
tidbit.
princess.
Really?
Oh,
I didn't
hear
know that one.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
everybody in England is like a royal descent
Yeah.
from some bloodline.
And I'm not going to say where from because I'm going to get it wrong because I forget.
Wasn't he also in
But-
like a death metal band?
Yeah.
Dude, he just does
What
it
a
all.
badass.
He also dabbled in the occult
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
because he had an interest in like dark stuff.
Yeah. I feel like there was at one point.
He hunted Nazis. He knew what it sounded like when you stabbed a man.
Yeah, he probably knows.
Guy just did it.
He just kicked
I
ass.
actually feel like he also was offered, or no, he was the inspiration. I think, and this will have to be fact checked for James Bond. I think
What?
I think he was actually the inspiration for it. Him
I did
as,
hear that,
him
but
as a person, but I have to look into that.
I would. Yeah,
Because-
I want to
because I
know if
know
that's
he-
factual.
Some- was a
Somebody get
pilot.
your phone out. I want to know this.
Because he was a pilot and then he got optical nerve damage.
Yeah.
And he couldn't fly anymore. So he was a spy for a while for.
This
yeah.
guy.
I mean, he lived an incredible
All right,
life.
we can move on, but we are going to do a whole episode on
Yeah,
Christopher,
on Christopher Lee
Lee.
because dude, that guy lived.
All right, this is just testing memory. This could be a little difficult. Name all the gifts Galadriel gave to the members of the Fellowship in the
shit.
movies.
Hair to Gimli.
Legolas
What's
got a bow.
Merry and Pippin got daggers.
Sam got the elven rope.
Sam got the rope.
And what's the like a
Frodo.
light of
Orendir.
Yeah,
Arendelle,
yeah. But I'm like Aragorn was there. What did Aragorn get?
Aragorn
The knife.
got a.
a
Oh,
new
yeah.
dagger. Yeah.
Well, I think in the book he got a scabbard for
yeah.
Andrew.
Okay, guys, let's talk about that.
The question did ask about movies, though.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Is that all of them?
Did you say Gimli? Did you guys?
Yeah,
say
Gimli
yeah,
got
yeah.
hair.
The hair.
How many strands of hair, Ryan?
3.
3.
Why can't we not say 3 without doing the accent?
Right.
Yeah.
Sam also got the soil
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
for back at the Shire.
How did Sauron communicate with Sauron? That's an
Palantir.
advanced question.
That's an advanced question. That was the
Palantir.
What is the
Palantir.
name of the sword that Elrond gives Aragorn?
Andrew.
Yeah. Man, these are not advanced. How many Academy Awards did The Return of the King win?
Oh, you know, when
13.
I can't ever remember this because when I go to Cheaters Never Prosper, I always get this one wrong.
I know. That's why I said 13.
11.
Okay, well, we were close. Also, for anyone who doesn't
Deserve
know the
13.
answer to these questions, you're not stupid. you
Where and when is Aragorn to look to Gandalf's arrival at Helm's Deep?
First,
Well,
First light
this
on
is-
fifth day?
Yeah, well, this is the movie, not the books.
Wait.
In the books, they complain because he doesn't give it time.
oh, okay.
That sounds like Gandalf. Can we just say that sounds like Gandalf?
But in the movie, I think it's 3 days.
Yeah, they say to the east at dawn on the 5th day.
Well, the
Yeah,
books
the
are
movie
different.
does say on the 3rd day, doesn't it?
No, it says 5th.
No,
Does it say
fifth.
5th?
Yeah, it says 5th.
First light on the 5th day, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look to my coming.
Yeah.
Who composed the music for the trilogy?
Howard Shore.
Howard Shore.
Dude, that is the best score in cinema
Oh, yeah.
history.
I have my
I would-
children
I would
listen
love
to it a lot.
See, the like live performances where they play the music over top of.
I looked into
the film.
tickets.
Yeah.
It's
They
pretty
are,
pricey.
absolutely.
How old? Howard Shore has to be pretty old now, too.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how old he was back then.
It's crazy. I mean, we're talking like 24 years ago when this start, like when these really started pumping out. Like, that's crazy. And he was.
Was he older back then? I can't remember.
I would guess he's in his 80s.
Yeah, I'm guessing
Okay.
that's probably why he didn't want to do Rings of Power fully. He did the intro, I think, song.
Yeah.
Like, other than that, I'm sure he's like.
Who's doing Rings of Power? That's Bear McCready, right?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it is.
McCready.
McCready. He's doing a good job though. I like the music. In
Oh
Rings
no,
of
no,
Power.
it still has the same similarities. It's just
Yeah.
like
What food does Frodo forget the taste as he travels through Mordor?
strawberries.
I thought it was bread.
Very quick on that.
Oh, it was strawberries?
strawberries. Yeah.
Yes, strawberries. And then he's like, eyes go psycho, and he starts going crazy. And then Sam's like, "What did I get into?"
Sam forgot the taste of Rosie.
Oh,
What is a meeting of the Ents called?
Entmoot.
Good job.
Thanks.
That is one of the trivia questions actually at Lord of the Rings trivia.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What has... Aragorn has 2 other names in Lord of the Rings. What are they?
Alisar.
And Strider.
Yeah, King Alisar and Strider. All right, this one is labeled as impossible.
Oh boy.
What is the name of the horse that rescues Aragorn in the 2 Towers?
H starts with an H, I think.
Isn't it Brago?
Oh,
It
you're
is
right.
Brago.
It is Brago. Okay, my H is just wrong.
Yeah,
That's the impossible.
that was the advanced and impossible
Well,
section.
then
But
you get
Viggo
props.
Mortensen was in a movie called Hidalgo, I think.
That's probably why I was probably thinking that. I was probably like, oh, it's an H. It's a whole movie about it. Brago. Oh, nice. It's good there.
You know he bought his horse.
I do remember hearing that.
From Hidalgo or Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I imagine when you're filming that.
And
long.
he bought one of the stunt actors the one horse, but I don't remember which.
I thought you were going to say he bought one of the stunt actors.
yeah.
No, they're a little late on that.
Well, most people didn't buy anything. They just took stuff from set. Like Gandalf took his staff. I actually think he put it in a bar. He has it in a
That's
bar
cool.
and something like right over top of his bar. I think
Peter
he was-
Jackson has most of the stuff.
He-
Which he must have like a huge warehouse
Oh,
full.
sure.
Yeah.
Which would be so sick to go tour.
That's got studios like he's like I'm taking this from studio. He's like they're like what are we gonna do? Yeah.
Yeah, they could have made buku bucks selling a lot
What
of it.
would you guys take if you were one of the cast members of the Lord of the Rings?
I mean
One item?
staff. I would actually the staff would be cool.
Well, Gandalf's staff?
Lantern? Yeah, I'd take a staff. So I think that was actually a good thing for Ian McKellen to get.
I'm guessing it was his Gandalf the White staff.
No, I think it was his.
Oh, his
Gandalf
Gandalf
the Grey.
staff. Okay.
Yeah,
His Gandalf the Grey
that's
staff.
more. That's more the.
I do
iconic
prefer that
than-
staff, honestly.
I actually
I like
really
the
like
white.
it. I like the white one.
I like it, but I feel like the more iconic ones. I don't know which one he took. I'll look into it.
Oh.
I would
Okay.
I know he said
probably
took a staff.
tell you that I would take the King's Sword. But as of late, as I'm getting an interest in archery, maybe I'll go for Legolas's bow.
Dude, that's like back to when you're a kid and loved Legolas.
Well, my love for Legolas goes deep.
And that is true. I wouldn't do the bow. Personally, I feel like the staffs are cooler.
There's a lot of cool items in the movies.
Yeah.
There is. I would just take everything and live in New Zealand.
Maybe one of those fancy daggers.
Okay, like
The Borrow Blade.
maybe unpopular, but Sting to me is like my least favorite.
Yeah.
I think it's a
thing.
cool looking.
I mean,
think
it's
a
cool looking, but
sword.
like, as far as the list of swords goes, Sting's not. up there.
I'd get a replica Sting sword.
I
That's
would
pretty
take
cool.
Orcrest from The Hobbit
Yeah.
over,
That one is really
Warcrest.
cool.
over Sting.
Yeah, agreed.
Warcrest is really cool.
It is.
I do think the King's Sword that Peter Jackson's production made is like almost like the ideal just looking sword.
It is. I know the scene when he pulls it out and it looks like it's like 10 feet long. Though I read that it's like the slow pan up. I'm like
Glamdring's a good sword.
I've always loved Glamdring.
I've always loved Legolas's daggers.
Yeah.
oh, the daggers are cool.
I've always been a big fan of Boromir's sword.
I think
I'm not a
Because
big fan of that one.
His sword was super wide at the hilt,
Mhm.
and it was a single-handed sword. So like not many warriors could wield it because it was so heavy. He had to be a very strong warrior. I just think it's so cool.
That's where it seems like
So
it's
here-
an inconvenience.
Since we're talking about the weapons, you guys know where Gimli got the double-headed axe?
Where he got it from?
Yeah.
I feel
No.
like at one point we knew this.
Because he doesn't leave
Costco?
Rivendell with it.
Costco, yeah. Everything's
No,
at Costco.
They're in Balin's tomb.
Really?
He throws his one axe, and then when the troll smashes the thing, he like dives off, and then when he's off to the side, he grabs it, and then from there on out is when he has it.
Is that a book or is that a movie thing? Or is
That's a
that
movie.
both?
That's a movie thing.
Oh, that's a movie
Really?
thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I never picked up on
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Interesting.
He never left Rivendell with it.
No, he didn't get it until in Balin's
Huh.
tomb in Moria.
I don't believe it.
Rewatching.
I thought he had it on his back.
Well, you realize that's pretty. Don't say early on in the story. I mean, but it's in the Fellowship, so then he has it for the rest of the whole thing.
We're gonna have to rewatch. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to see
I'm
this.
now-
that's a aspect I've never seen before.
Yeah, that's a tidbit. I haven't. Oh, there's another cool thing in movies though that learned here was the Mouth of Sauron scene.
Right.
How it was cut from theatrical version, and it's actually really interesting why they cut it from theatrical version or on the theatrical version was because in the book,
Mm-hmm.
the Mouth of Sauron was talking, and you didn't know if Frodo was dead or not because
Yeah, in
last
the
you hear
movie
from Frodo.
you see Frodo's.
Yeah, you already
alive.
know he's alive. So as the audience, you know he's alive. But in the book, you didn't know Frodo was alive at that point because last you heard is he got captured. And then the next scene is with the Mouth of Sauron.
So it's supposed to be that.
It's climactic on you as the reader, but
Right.
because you watch the movie, so that's why they end up cutting out that scene because it didn't have the same emotional draw.
Yeah, that's an aspect for me that was missed because I saw the movies first
Right.
Yeah.
before I got
That's
to read the
actually
books.
that's really good writing.
Yeah.
Like that's some good suspense right there.
Well, imagine when you're
That
writing.
Tolkien guy knows what he's
That's what
doing.
he's doing.
Well, imagine when you have to write like from different perspectives, especially when you know you're breaking off characters,
Right.
And you have to somehow like jump between and piecing it all together. And actually, apparently, Tolkien was like such a perfectionist. That's why it took him so long to write everything because he literally was just thinking of every detail.
There's a book out there, and someone's gonna kill me for not remembering the title of it. I want to say like Dark Rain or Black Rain or something like that. But I think it's supposed to be like Morgoth's perspective through the Silmarillion.
Oh, that'd be.
Oh, this is a Tolkien book.
It's not written by Tolkien. I think it's
Right,
written by
but like related.
yeah, but it's like written from his perspective.
That's it.
And I want to get that. I think that'd be a great book.
You're gonna have to
But
look
man,
up what that name is. I'm gonna
sorry,
have to buy
I
it
can't
too.
remember the title of the book at the moment.
Yeah, we'll look it up later because I'm gonna need to look into that too. That's gonna be neat.
Back to swords. Eomer has an awesome sword too.
Yeah.
There's-
Actually, Eomer, Eowyn, and Theoden swords.
Yeah.
I
I
think are
I
pretty
love the
can't-
Rohirrim swords.
Yeah.
I think
I
that-
can't think of what Eomer's sword looks like.
Single-handed.
It has
It's got the
two
horse
horses.
heads, but they
They
go around the
touch.
blade.
Oh, that's.
And
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Theoden's has them where they come up and
I don't
has the
care for
arc.
Theoden's.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't dislike it,
Eowyn's
but
is cooler than Theoden's, yes.
I would agree.
it's actually. I mean, really, it's making a list of things that don't look cool. Lord of the Rings is a short list of everything that does look cool. I mean, really, the screen production of pretty much everything that Weta Workshop's created for those films is like
All right.
perfection.
So we're playing Lord of the Rings D&D. You have to make your character for Lord of the Rings. Middle-earth. What are you being, and what are you equipped with?
Is a wizard an option?
Yep.
I'm a wizard. A staff, obviously.
So you're Gandalf.
I'm Gandalf.
You're going to say staff. and
So
shield.
I mean, if we
Yeah.
go back to the Lord of the Rings Online days, I was a dwarf and I had a dwarven warhammer.
Nice. I was an elf on that because you can be a wizard.
Oh, that's
But
right.
I was also like a sorcerer. So like I was an elf as sorcerer because I do find like magic.
What was
as-
my name on that? I think it was Valagrim.
Mine's Volkrin.
You still have that account, don't you?
I have that.
Me and Ryan were playing that like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
If I got a computer, I wouldn't mind starting that back up.
should do
I
it.
would
You know what?
definitely be like a ranger, like a strider character, or an Athelian ranger type character. With just like a bow, quiver, cloak, sword.
What are you, a bard? No.
No, I'm a ranger.
No.
I mean, I'd be human. Sword, bow. You can tack me onto the ranger list.
Okay, there we go.
I've also never played D&D, so I don't know.
Gay.
Who's fully my options.
It's been a long time since we've done that.
It's probably been about 2 years as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never played, so I'm down.
Yeah, there you go. Well, but you'd be a dwarf.
Yeah, I mean, I mean that's what I've always
Okay,
related
it's
to.
an elf,
Honestly,
a dwarf, and 2 men. So
An elf, a dwarf.
Walk into a bar.
The prancing pony.
There you go. No, but I think that's what was cool though when you do like because you can ask questions like that because Tolkien created all these like different races and ideas and everyone connects to something a little bit different, and that's fine.
What is if you could sit down and have tea with Tolkien, what is one question you'd ask him?
Oh man, that's deep.
I mean,
You can ask him for any of the answers to all the riddles.
so
What is your bank account number and routing number?
So one of his biggest gripes is about how he was mad about how short the books were because he wanted to be longer, but for publishing issues he had to shorten them. I'd like to know what he would have liked to expand on or add.
I wonder if he put that in his other writings though.
I'm
outside of
sure.
it.
I'm sure he's covered everything, but as far as how much would he have wanted to add to those 3 books to kind of.
I'm curious. 'Cause I think it took him 24 years. I think is how long it took him to write Lord of the Rings after The Hobbit. I will say though, apparently, I think we talked about this a little bit last time. Because The Hobbit was success is what made him write obviously Lord of the Rings because that was success, and he didn't when writing The Hobbit know that it was going to become Lord of the Rings and the Ring of Power. But he was like, "How do I create this story?" And he said, "The ring." And then he's like, "Oh, but it can't just be a magical ring now. It needs to be the ring." And that is how he ended up getting into the storyline, the plot of Lord of the Rings. So I think I kind of just to answer what we talked about on another podcast was, Hobbit came successful, and then that's what got him to transition into Lord of the Rings.
I think I'd probably ask him where he would go after Lord of the Rings. Like I know there's like a limited amount of writing that he has about after the Third Age, but I think if I were to say like if you were to complete a sequel to the Lord of the Rings, where would you go with it?
I'd ask him if Balrog had wings. No.
Why did the Eagles not fly the ring to Mount Doom?
Oh, by the way, I actually think one of our fans answered that in one of the comment and clarified some of our comments where they definitely do have wings. Where we take out the like word. I think the writing actually took out
I
the
did see that comment.
There's
Yeah.
a comment. I have to fact check it, but I actually think they clarified that and they said Balrogs do have
Yeah,
wings.
Derek.
Yeah.
Who's this person? Are they an expert? I want to see some credentials.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't know what
the handle was Ryan Daly.
Oh, that's, yeah, sounds about right.
I don't know one question. That is pretty deep. One question about Lord of the Rings that I would ask him. I guess it doesn't have to be about Lord of the Rings either.
I'd want.
True.
Are you happy with how many people have honestly have been touched or have dived in your books? Do you feel like you fulfilled your purpose on that?
I feel like with how big the fandom is, I think that it's got to be.
Fulfilling.
I'm actually wondering how much of a big deal that'd be for him because I feel like it was just his passion.
I know what I would ask him.
Would you ask?
I think I would ask him, at what point in his life did he start imagining and creating this world in his head?
I'm sure he did.
Like it had to have been way. He had to have rough ideas way before he even wrote The Hobbit.
You think so? I know, like in wartime, he kind of used that to get him through. Because like even growing up, like in war, like I think it was almost like his therapy was to write these stories almost from his circumstances. Because he does talk kind of extensively about how like all his close friends were dying around him, so like he lost those connections. So like writing, was an outlet. So I'd assume, I mean, with all these ideas, you think it'd start sooner, and then it became probably an obsession in wartime. Then when you realize you actually have a story and something right, you just go full force into it. Outside languages he created, he spoke so many languages, like just normal languages, and for him it came natural. And he
Well, there's so much like Anglo-Saxon influence
Yeah.
in the Elvish language.
yeah. I think it said he liked how the Welsh, I think it was Welsh, how they spoke. So he'd kind of take influences from different languages when he would even come up with like names for the characters. Because one thing that in an interview he was being talked about was how Sauron, orcs, Gollum, just from their name, you would identify it as, oh, that's a bad character versus a good character. So for each race, he would take different aspects from different language to put it into that type so that it would be consistent. So like Legolas, you kind of knew you were thinking of an elf at the time, or Aragorn, oh, that's a man. Frodo.
Yeah, the
Hobbit,
orc
yeah.
names are definitely like, oh, that's
Yeah.
a creature.
But it's amazing when you have that much like forethought into your writing, where even the names, you have some way of creating that so that would make the reader understand directly from that name. Because even he said he liked a good name, and he'd start with a name, and that's when the story would be created. He wouldn't do it the other way around. He wouldn't create the story and then the character. He
But
would
they
create
all
them
have
first.
like 3 names.
Well, then I guess he couldn't decide on one then apparently.
Yeah.
But no, I think the forethought that goes into like writing this detail and an obsession. It has to be an obsession at this point. Because
Oh, yeah.
he was also a professor. He had a wife. He had kids. Like he was a busy guy.
Wrote part of the Oxford Dictionary.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I think his one paper on his review of Beowulf is why it's required in high schools, or at least was required in high schools, was Beowulf, because his comments on that book is kind of made that mainstream, so now it's required reading.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, even just as he had such a huge influence on C.S. Lewis
Oh yeah.
and writing his books, and
But actually,
like
amazing.
Tolkien was just a pretty incredible person. Shame
Really?
I never get to meet him.
Really fulfilled life. Like
Way
he-
above
he
my
did-
intellect.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
genius.
Yeah, hard.
Most
to,
people are.
hard to hear though. He actually mumbles a good bit when he talks. If you ever listen to him, he actually
Well,
does mumble a lot.
English.
Yeah, yeah. but no, what's
We won the war, buddy.
yeah. So Tolkien was more of a mentor to C.S. Lewis, but they were also friends. They were actually part of a group that would talk. I think it was called Inkling, and it was actually there. It was like a little group that would meet about. I don't want to say influence the world, but
At a pub.
yeah, to kind of like get cultural values in a sense. But it was actually C.S. Lewis kept pushing J.R. Tolkien to keep trying with getting his works published and things like that, because I think it was denied for like 5 to 10 years or something like that before the publishers actually picked up Tolkien's books. And I think C.S. Lewis was a big influence on like keep trying, because Tolkien was a pessimist. So a perfectionist and a pessimist it doesn't go well together. And a
Right.
procrastinator apparently. So, but it's based on the perfection.
I think our definitions of procrastination are
Very
vastly
different, exactly.
As much as he created in his lifetime.
Well, I think it was the perfectionism is what they say, because it's like, if you have a deadline for a book or something like that, and you want perfection, like, which is good though, because that's why we have such deep, detailed writing.
Right. You can't put a timeline on that.
No, because even like I would say, like if I'm picking favorites here, I'll say I think Tolkien has deeper writings than C.S. Lewis. I think C.S. Lewis is almost too much of a allegory that is like direct tied. I'm not saying lazy, but I'm just saying like I think that is definitely more of a direct tie. That
They're fun books, but
Yeah.
it's not of the same quality.
yeah, no. Now don't get me wrong. Like it's easier read than like Lord of the Rings, but The Hobbit's also like I'd say The Hobbit is like a detailed kids book.
Yes.
Very easy to read, good for kids, things like that. Lord of the Rings, as we talked before, it's a harder read. Obviously, C.S. Lewis was more of a whimsical writer and more geared toward the like kid reading, so it's a lot easier. But Lord of the Rings, the detail, the amount of works after The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and all the unfinished works, Tales, Silmarillion, everything like that. I'm like, yeah. But it says procrastination, but you were right. That's the most productive procrastinator I've ever heard of. This just goes to show.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
This isn't even scratching the surface.
Well, it's mainly too because the one down there, it's letters from Santa. Is he would write letters to his grandkids and kids as Santa. So he'd also write a bunch of letters from Santa to do those out. So I don't think there's one dull moment in that person's life.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, the War of the Rohirrim comes out on streaming. So we didn't have to go see it in theaters. We'll be watching it. We'll be commenting on it. We'll be reviewing it.
So let's just jump into the elephant in the room that it just literally got released in theaters like 2 weeks ago and it's already going to streaming. So it's kind of bombing. So I think what that shows is the anime market just isn't for the way to tell the story.
Is it the anime market, or is it just like nobody really gave a shit about like Helm Hammer?
I think there's a little more than that. I think we kind of were talking about it a little bit. Marketing for it was not great.
Yeah, no.
2, I don't know who was lining up to see an anime Lord of the Rings film, Tolkien film. I mean, if you break your Lord of the Rings fan base into two, you have Lord of the Rings movie fans and you have the book fans. Where in that Venn diagram does it overlap where you show anime as like like you're going to have a box office hit? I don't see it.
So I agree.
I don't mind the story of Helm Hammer.
I think it's because they just want to push something out for cheap. And I hate saying it that way, but they needed something in there to try and get Lord of the Rings space back in for their later movies they want to do. But I think the point of Lord of the Rings is people want to be immersed. You can't relate yourself into a timeline when it's anime like that.
It's also, so they took a 3-page appendix, took a portion of it out, and then wrote their own story around it. So really, outside of the concept of it, it's not Tolkien. It's Peter Jackson and whoever.
And other than Star Wars, and I'm truly asking, what other franchise has successfully been able to go from live action to cartoon?
Starting with live action cartoon, it's a lot harder. I was going to say, if you start off with something like, for example, Avatar: Last Airbender isn't exactly anime, but it's really close. I'd say it's kind of close. They went from anime.
Yeah, but that
cartoon,
started with anime.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then went to it.
Like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars was live action, and then they well established their whole Clone Wars thing.
Yeah.
And then now their mediums go back and forth willy nilly,
Yeah.
and it's just accepted and liked.
Yeah, I think what it is though, when you create something so immersive as the live action of Lord of the Rings, though, like anime feels like a step back, and I think that's the problem. I think when you go like, for example, like if you see the anime Lord of the Rings, for example, you're going to want to see the live action. You're not going to take a step back to the animation now because you've been almost spoiled with truly like seeing something that seems real, like you can touch it, you can feel it, to almost stepping back. But I do wonder if it is a strategy. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure they want to be profitable on it. But I'm wondering if it was a strategy of we need to get Lord of the Rings content out there, get people like reawakened because we are coming out with some more movies.
Right.
Or should they have just stopped? I mean, I know we always say, because I agree, like the more content, the better, because no matter what, the more content, the better. You get some winners, get some losers. But would they have been better to not sour people? Because even Rings of Power in reality, like I think season 2 is great, and I think show's going to get better. I don't think it's performing how they want. So I'm wondering if it is the
Quite
marketing.
frankly, Peter Jackson's trilogy just set the bar too high. So the fan base is, that's the expectation. It's pretty hard to match up to that. Peter Jackson couldn't even match up to that again with The Hobbit. Yeah. So
I do have one disagreement though. Like I feel like the anime market is huge right now, and I feel like I would imagine at least that a lot of anime fans are probably also into the fantasy of Lord of the Rings and everything, and it may go into a lot. Like it's huge right now.
I know anime is huge.
Yeah,
I'm not an anime expert. I don't really take in any anime. From the anime stuff that I see, I'm just like, well, where are these anime fans just going to go see this because it's anime? Or
well, I feel like there's probably a lot of anime fans that are into like fantasy and probably interested in Lord of the Rings. But it may go into marketing a little bit. I do think they picked up a little bit closer to release, but like leading up to release, for the past couple of years here, like I don't think a lot of people knew it was coming out. And then I don't think the marketing picked up fast enough for people to actually know this was coming out.
I don't think I heard about it till like midsummer. Is when I heard about it. Like,
now,
it wasn't until the weeks leading up to it releasing I didn't start seeing it on like all the media platforms.
All that to be said, from everything I've read, apparently like it's a pretty good movie. Like it's not like it bombed in the box office because the movie sucks. It's just, I guess the demand wasn't just there. Anime, who knows? But apparently the movie itself is actually pretty good. Probably be watching it here this weekend.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I want to like it. I'm sure I probably will enjoy it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. But
it's actually, so it's interesting because I think that the Lord of the Rings franchise does have to figure out how to tap into the like Gen Z market. Just because like I introduced Lord of the Rings. Now I did put on the extended to like Gen Z. Just to see what the reaction would be.
That was your mistake.
I think the reaction would have been the same theatrical or extended, but it actually was too slow for them. And then I talked to them about set design versus CGI, and actually they were like, oh, well, CGI is cooler.
Really?
Very interesting. So
Disagree.
No,
yeah,
I disagree.
100%.
I disagree, but I wonder.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. It's very interesting. So I'm wondering if when they do come out with the new movies, if it's going to reinstill like cinema, kind of the same concepts of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, or if it is going to have to go to this more faster paced, jokey, honestly, like more like The Hobbit.
I'd sooner see them stop making content than fall into that realm.
Yeah, I'm just curious to get an audience. 'Cause I don't think production companies will ever like stop making content if they think they can make money off of it. But they are going to need to, like I said, get that younger market in,
Right.
because if they do stop making money, like War of the Rohirrim from box office standpoint is going to be considered a flop. Where they're probably not going to make any more anime Lord of the Rings, or if they do, they're
Darn.
yeah, take a different approach. But it's just interesting seeing it from like new eyes, younger generation,
Right.
on what their thoughts are, and it's too slow,
Interesting.
too much talking. Now it starts with Fellowship, which Fellowship is. If they
Yeah,
got
but man, I really do believe, like, if you're going to introduce somebody who's never read the books, never seen the movies, never nothing, never start with the extended.
so I agree, like that is, I think
I mean, the
same
Shire scene's like 40 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if someone does, they should do theatrical. I don't think the result would have been different in this case. And mine we didn't get through the whole Fellowship till they wanted a break and just stopped watching.
They wanted a break in a 4-hour movie.
Yeah, no. And then, now I do think though, like, if it got to like Two Towers and Return of the King, it would have been like, oh, this is starting to,
Well,
because
I'm not sure,
you have to
'cause
buy into it.
Because I mean, like the attention spans now are non-existent.
Well, exactly. You have,
And like even if you look at the Hobbit movies, I didn't even think about this until you brought it up. But like even the Hobbit movies' pacing is like, whereas the Lord of the Rings has a lot of slow moments.
I think that's just changing in cinema, and how, like you said, attention spans. You have things like TikTok now, YouTube clips, Reels, things like that. I'm like, you're literally swiping for a 10, 15-second video at this point.
Right.
Keeping people engaged into a movie, you need constant stimulation. And like when you do watch, we have the love for Lord of the Rings, so we watch it and we're like, man, nostalgia. Take away that nostalgia, and if your younger generation who's used to that, it is slow. I can see why you take it as slow, or too much commentary, too much deep thinking. So it's just interesting. It's more like it's like a little science experiment.
It's
so.
making me think about our 45-minute to an hour episodes and how many people actually want to watch the whole thing.
We can
Not
check that.
many.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We can check that.
Time to start making some TikTok clips.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, we appreciate everyone stopping in, and we'll catch you next time.